All right, I'm going to do an example here of interpreting the group means from a factorial design. I've put the question into words, so I wanted to be able to show you as much of the thing as I could. So this is kind of small, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. It says Eleanor Kwan is a college student who has started a nonprofit organization to provide support and companionship for elderly shut-ins. She is now at the stage of recruiting volunteers. She envisioned 3 major tasks to be performed by the volunteers: visitation, clerical work, and advertisement. You can see along the bottom, the x-axis, she's got visitation, clerical work, and advertisement for each of the 4 graphs. She's interested in whether some of these tasks would be more attractive to volunteers than others. She also is interested in whether males and females feel differently. You'll notice on each of the graphs, the males and females are along the right-hand side, which means that's the information that's along the x-axis, or the y-axis, excuse me. Males and females are along the y-axis. The categories, visitation, clerical work, and advertisement are along the x-axis, and that's important to watch to see. She randomly selected an equal number of adults, males and females. She divided the males at random into 3 groups of equal size. For each task, she chose a different group of males and asked each male in the group the number of hours per month he would volunteer at the task. She did the same for the females. After recording the replies, she computed the group mean for each of the 6 groups. Shown below are the 4 possible graphs displaying these group means. Answer the questions below about these graphs. So the first question says, which graph show that at least one task had a different overall mean from the others? Choose that apply, all that apply. So they're asking about the tasks, at least one task. And so I got to turn my pen on here. And so since I'm looking at the tasks, that didn't go. Now we should see it. Oh, there we go. It looked weird. Since we're looking at the tasks, you can see the tasks are here along your x-axis. Boy, it wants to show it when I'm circling below and hop up. I don't know if it's going to do that in the video or not, but those are along the x-axis. So when I'm looking for the ones along the x-axis, I want to find the mean of the endpoints, the midpoints, and the 2 endpoints and the midpoint, and see if it is a straight horizontal line. So when I'm looking at graph 1, I'm looking halfway between the 2 endpoints. Halfway between the 2 endpoints would be about right there. See my little dot? Then halfway between my 2 midpoints would be about right there. Halfway between my other 2 endpoints would be about right there. If I drew my line, if I could draw straight, it would be a nice straight horizontal line, but my line is very crooked because my hand is shaky. Since that is a horizontal line, that means that the means are the same, and so I wouldn't check that one. Then I would do the same for graph 2. Halfway between the 2 endpoints would be about right there. Halfway between my 2 midpoints would be about right here. That one didn't show up. Halfway between my other 2 endpoints would be right there. And if I drew the line connecting those dots, it's not going to be a nice straight horizontal line. It's kind of crooked. So that is one I would mark. On my next one, graph 3, halfway between these 2 endpoints would be right there. Halfway between those 2 endpoints would be right there. Halfway between those 2 endpoints would be about right there. And again, when I connect those dots, it's not going to be a perfect straight horizontal line. So I'm going to mark that one. Same thing here. If I do halfway between these 2 endpoints, it's going to be here, here, and here. And when I connect those dots, my line ends up being a slanted line, not a straight line. And so I'm going to mark number 4. So the line ends up having to be straight horizontal, even though I can draw very straight on my screen here. The only one that would have a straight horizontal line is the very first one. On the next one, it says which graphs show the 2 genders had different overall means. When I'm looking for the 2 genders, what I'm doing is looking, do the midpoints of each of those values intersect in the same point, the halfway point of each of those lines. If I'm looking at those ones to see where my midpoints would intersect, I'm finding that on here. the midpoint of these two lines would be right here. Those two lines don't intersect. They're not the same point. The midpoints of each of those two lines would be right here. Again, they don't intersect in a point. The midpoints of those two lines right there, they don't intersect in a point. The midpoints of those two lines, they don't end up in a point. So which ones have different overall means? They all do, because none of those midpoints intersect in a single point. They're both two separate points. They would have to intersect right in the middle and be the exact same point. So in this case, all four of these have different overall means because none of their midpoints intersect in the exact same point right in the middle of the graph. Which ones show an interaction between? If they show an interaction, the lines are not going to be parallel. They're going to intersect at some point. So in this case, the first graph intersects right here. That one is showing an interaction. This graph intersects right here. Again, that one's showing an interaction. Here, those two lines, eventually, if I kept going this way, because this one is slanted slightly down, would intersect eventually. So that one's showing an interaction. And then this one here, those two lines are parallel all the way. And so since those have parallel lines, those lines are never going to intersect. And so those are the only ones not showing an interaction. I'm going to go ahead and hit check there. Oops, won't let me hit check because my pen is on. I got to turn my select object. Now I can check. Oh, I can't check. I'm on Word. Anyway, that should be then the answers to this question here.